Imagine you drop a ball off the edge of a 64-foot building. Gravity takes over, pulls it down, it accelerates, and then, smash, it hits the concrete.
So here's the question. Exactly how fast is that ball traveling, the absolute millisecond it makes impact? Now, I don't mean the average speed on the way down. I mean the precise, instantaneous speed right at that tiny exact moment of impact. Well, by the end of this explainer, you are going to know exactly how to answer that. You'll understand how derivatives represent real-world rates of change, the formulas behind them, and how we can use this exact math in physics, biology, and even business.
Section 1. The rate of change.
All right, let's jump straight in. So, the derivative, it really isn't just some abstract math puzzle you're forced to solve on a test. It's actually the ultimate tool for measuring the instantaneous rate of change. It's the math of right now. The formal definition says the instantaneous rate of change of a function at a specific point, let's call it a, is its derivative, f prime of a. We write this using a limit formula. F prime of a equals the limit as h approaches 0 of f of a plus h minus f of a, all divided by h. Okay, I know, that sounds super intimidating, but really, it's just measuring the ratio of change over an incredibly, infinitely tiny slice of time.
Let's make this way more accessible and break it down using what's called the amount of change formula. If you want to estimate a totally new unknown value in the near future, you just start with what you already know, which is your current value, f of a. Then you find your current rate of change, your derivative, f prime of a. You take that rate, multiply it by h, which is just your little step forward in time, and add it back to your starting value. So, f of a plus h is approximately equal to f of a plus f prime of a times h. When you lay it out like that, it's actually incredibly logical, right?
But you might be wondering, why does this actually work? How are we basically predicting the near future using a derivative? Well, the reason is we're just using the tangent line at our known point to estimate what's going to happen right next to it. As long as our change, our h, is super small, that straight tangent line is an incredibly accurate predictor for our curving function. It's like using a straight ruler to measure a tiny piece of a massive circle.
Let's look at a quick mini example so you can see just how effortlessly this works. Say we're given a known value f of 3 equals 2. And we also know our rate of change right at that point. F prime of 3 is 5. Our goal here is to estimate the value of f of 3.2. So our h, our tiny change, is 0.2. Let's just plug it into the formula. We take our starting value, 2, and add our rate of 5 multiplied by 0.2. Well, 5 times 0.2 is exactly 1. Add that 1 back to our starting 2, and we get 3. That is literally it. F of 3.2 is approximately 3.
Section 2. Motion, velocity, and acceleration.
Now that we've got the basic idea of measuring change down, let's connect this directly to real-life motion. Because this is where derivatives get physical. Think about driving your car. Your position function, let's call it s of t, is exactly like your car's odometer. It just tells you where you are or how far you've traveled. But your velocity, which is the derivative of position, s prime of t, that is your speedometer. It totally ignores your total trip. It only tells you exactly how fast your position is changing the exact second you glance down at the dashboard. And we can take this a step further. If you stomp on the gas pedal, your velocity changes, right? Well, acceleration is literally just the rate of change of velocity. So acceleration, or a of t, is the derivative of velocity, v prime of t, which, if you follow the chain, means it's the second derivative of position, s double prime of t. It's this beautiful, perfect chain of mathematical logic.
Okay, so let's go back to that real-life problem we started with, the ball dropping from the 64-foot building. The position of that falling ball over time is mapped by the formula s of t equals negative 16t squared plus 64. First off, when does it actually hit the ground? Well, it hits when its position is 0. If you solve negative 16t squared plus 64 equals 0, you find out t equals 2 seconds. Now to find the exact velocity at that moment of impact, we just take the derivative of our position function. The derivative of negative 16t squared plus 64 is negative 32t. And finally, we plug in our impact time, which is 2 seconds.
And we get negative 64 feet per second. That is the exact instantaneous velocity, the exact millisecond that ball strikes the pavement. Oh, and by the way, that negative sign, it just tells us the direction of the motion is downward.
Now wait, hold on. This is absolutely crucial. A really common mistake students make here is confusing average velocity with instantaneous velocity. Look at the difference in our example. The ball's average velocity during the entire 2-second fall is only negative 32 feet per second. But its instantaneous velocity at the very end of the fall is double that, negative 64 feet per second. Derivatives give us the exact speed at the exact moment, not some generalized average.
Section 3. Predicting population growth.
Let's shift gears a bit. We're moving from physics over to biology, because derivatives definitely aren't just for falling objects. They apply to living populations too. If we say P of t is the number of entities in a population at a certain time, then the population growth rate is just its derivative, P prime of t. It tells us the exact rate at which a population is expanding or shrinking right at this exact moment.
This is honestly a brilliant way to predict the future. Let's look at a city. Say a city currently has a population of 10,000 people. So P of 0 is 10. And let's say we know it's tripling every 5 years, which means in 5 years, P of 5 will be 30,000. If we want to estimate the current growth rate, P prime of 0, we look at the total change in population, which is 20,000, and divide it by those 5 years. That gives us a growth rate of 4,000 people per year. Now, what if we need to know the population in exactly 2 years? We bring back our trusty amount of change formula. We take our starting value of 10 plus our 2-year time jump multiplied by our rate of 4. 18,000 people. Just by taking the current size and adding the rate of change multiplied by the time interval, we can effortlessly predict exactly how big the city will be.
Section 4. Marginal cost and revenue.
All right, let's look at one final practical application today. We've measured falling speed, we've measured growing cities. Now let's use derivatives to track money, costs, and profits in the business world. In economics, you are constantly going to hear the word marginal. Marginal cost, marginal revenue, marginal profit. I know it sounds super complex, but marginal literally just means the derivative. If you take the derivative of a cost function, you get the marginal cost. And that tells you the approximate cost of producing exactly one additional item. It's just the rate of change of your money at a very specific level of production.
Imagine you're running a barbecue business. Your revenue function for selling X number of dinners is R of X equals negative 0.03x squared plus 9x. To find the marginal revenue, we just take the derivative. So R prime of X equals negative 0.06x plus 9. Now suppose you've already sold 100 dinners and you want to know exactly how much revenue you're going to make from selling just that 101st dinner. All you do is plug your current sales level, 100, into your marginal revenue derivative. And you get exactly $3. That derivative is telling you that right at the 100 dinner mark, your revenue is changing at a rate of $3 per extra dinner sold. Now why do we actually do this? Look at this comparison. If you went in and actually calculated the massive total revenue for 101 dinners and then manually subtracted the total revenue for 100 dinners, the exact true difference is $2.97. But our simple derivative formula gave us $3 in a fraction of the time. Marginal revenue gives business owners an incredibly fast, highly accurate estimate that saves them from doing a bunch of tedious arithmetic. Section 5. Summary and final thoughts.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly summarize the key points we've covered in this explainer, because this is the exact foundational knowledge you're going to carry forward into advanced calculus. First, remember that derivatives are not just static equations. They represent instantaneous rates of change happening right now. Second, the amount of change formula lets us use that rate to accurately estimate the near future. Third, when we're talking motion, taking the derivative takes you from position straight to velocity and then down to acceleration. And finally, in business, whenever you see the word marginal, just know it's the derivative telling you the value of one extra unit.
So, we've totally mastered derivatives of polynomials in the real world today. We can track falling balls, growing populations, and BBQ sales. But think about this. What happens when we need to find the rate of change for something that never stops repeating? Something like a continuous sound wave or a swinging pendulum. How in the world do we take the derivative of a trigonometric function? Well, that is exactly what we're going to uncover in our next explainer. Keep analyzing those